Hello there. It's Lisa Starr with another episode of StarCast, podcast for wellness professionals. Today we have someone from outside our usual um, serving of spa industry folks. I'm really pleased to have this woman join us because she's a powerhouse in the fitness industry. I'd like to introduce the CEO and owner of the IDEA Association, Amy Boone Thompson. Thank you for joining us today.
It is my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So, Amy, you and I met at a trade show somewhere, I'm sure, and I was like, wow, this woman is beautiful. She's smart. She's like such a presence in the room. I must get to know her better. And you're getting to know you more. The more I learn, the more I'm impressed by what you've done. So I thought it would be really interesting for listeners for them to hear about your journey from your undergrad degree into the position you hold now, and which has been mostly fitness related, if I'm reading it right, but some really interesting jobs along the way.
Absolutely. And I remember exactly where we met. We were both on a panel at the Mind Body online conference.
Right.
And then I just recently ran into you at the Boutique Fitness Solutions conference. So, and Lisa, I share the same adoration. I had immediately, I could see that you were, I'm going to just use the word baller because I'm an athlete. You were a baller in the spa industry, but also what I loved about you is you are a networker and you're very deliberate about who you want to meet with at these events. So I was immediately in awe of that as well.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I guess it comes from us being over the age of 25 and being
That's
very
right.
careful with our time, right?
That's right. Okay, so I do have roots in wellness as well, and I'll kind of share that most of my experience has been in fitness and health, but working in the clubs in the 90s, I had exposure to wellness as well, and I'm actually a certified massage therapist, board
I
certified.
saw that. And at
Yes,
one point you owned a yoga studio, right?
that's
So
right.
you've done it all. I can't wait to hear more.
Yes. Yeah, my claim to fame is that I'm an overnight success. It took 30 years to get here. And I've held every job in the fitness, nearly sports and wellness industries as well. So I'll try to keep the career path brief, but there's a lot to share.
There is a lot.
So you're right. I am one of 10 children. I'll start there. And
That's
so
stunning in itself.
yeah. So going to college was never an expectation of my parents. They were both
Mhm.
college graduates, but I was raised in a Mormon household, and I was raised to be a homemaker. I learned to sew and cook and all the domestic skills, and of course they just hoped I would have a lot of grandkids, but I was never expected to go to college. So for me, it was really about getting out of the house and no longer
Mhm.
sharing a bedroom and a bed, and creating my own path. I was actually a really good athlete. Most of my siblings and I were gifted athletically. And so I pursued a scholarship in basketball and volleyball. And that's how I got out of Utah. I went to a junior college in Idaho first, where I was able to play basketball, volleyball, and track and field.
Wow.
And from there, our team performed really well. We went to the junior college championships. I got seen, and then I ended up getting a Division I scholarship at George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia, and that was for basketball. Um,
Excellent.
so I was studying. It's interesting back then. This is in the 90s, and again, growing up in Utah and not seeing a lot of career options for women, I decided to study physical and health education. And at the time, there wasn't even an exercise kinesiology program at George Mason. So
Hmm.
I thought, all right, well, I'll get this teaching degree and then I can be a mom and coach basketball. And then I'll specialize in athletic training and maybe tape ankles or whatnot. So that's my major. And I ended up coincidentally also playing volleyball at George Mason when I finished my basketball eligibility. And so that path was amazing. But it put me in the strength and conditioning room and athletic training rooms a lot. And that's where I started to get exposure to fitness.
Fascinating. So really, from being almost a professional athlete, kind of going backwards into, hey, these people are helping me stay on the court and feel well. I'd like to learn more about this.
Yeah. Yeah, and so when I graduated at George Mason, this is where I got my massage program. So I did a year and a half of school in DC, Potomac Massage Training Institute, and I got my massage therapy certificate. So then I went back to George Mason and I was taping ankles. I was doing sports massage therapy for different teams, for my own teams, as well as some professional teams. And at the same time, I got a job as a personal trainer at the Women's Club in Chantilly. And that job is what completely changed the trajectory of my career. And what was so magical about that was just having worked with entitled and spoiled athletes. And I can say that because I was one.
Oh,
um, then to have the contrast of the experience where these women were so grateful, they showed up eager. They wanted to do the work. They were overcoming tremendous obstacles in their lives and or trying to achieve really big goals. And they were just so grateful. And I could tell that if I pursued a career in fitness, it was really going to make a difference for people and make impact. And that's what I wanted. So from there, I moved to San Diego and I started working at a premier health club called the Sporting Club at Aventine in La Jolla, and started training full time. And I did that for a couple of years.
amazing that you pretty quickly, as a young person still, realized that ability to touch people's lives goes way beyond the weight room or the gym. I mean, the role that fitness plays in our life in giving energy and strength and positive self-awareness and all, you saw that early on, and I love that you pursued that.
Yeah, I still keep a book. I have a binder with all their stories. And when I moved, of course, they wrote kind letters to me, and I keep those because it just shows, doing what I do now and owning this large association, it reminds me of the impact
Mhm.
one fitness professional can make. And so I keep that binder and hold it dear just because of, for all those reasons, and to keep reminding me, even though I'm not training anymore, it reminds me how important what I'm doing is.
You
So then the
you
next chapter of my career was the hustle. And this is when I was opening the
That's
club
funny.
at 5 a.m. and closing it at 10. I was working double shifts. I was taking clients whenever I could. I started a basketball league out of the club to make extra money, but also selfishly so I could play with women in the area. And that led to starting a semi professional league called National Women's Basketball League that came out of that club. And we ended up competing all over the United States with women who had just graduated and were looking for an opportunity to go pro. So this is going to date me, Lisa, but the year that I moved to, the year I finished college was the year the Women's NBA was founded. And so I had an opportunity to go try out because my coach ended up being the coach of the Wizards. I said, you know what, I'm going to go try some other things, but then ended up starting a league that was feeding women into the National Women's NBA.
How did you find teams around the country to play?
Well, so we had a San Diego team, and that was practicing out of our club, and we did tryouts and the whole thing. Women were driving from LA, even from Arizona, to be on our team.
Goodness.
And then we, through my relationships and the co-founders' relationships, we found other people in other cities that were doing the same thing. They were competing many more years than we had, just waiting for an opportunity for professional women's basketball.
Mm.
So we played in Pennsylvania, we played in Oakland, we played in Las Vegas,
Mhm.
we played in a lot of different cities, and then we held several tournaments where these ladies could get exposure and try to get drafted.
How did you get funded?
It was individual sponsorships.
Right, right.
Obviously I had the facility, so that was a big piece of the puzzle, but the girls, most of them had to pay for their own travel. They had to pay
Mm.
for of course, all their own equipment. We were not being paid to play. We were
Mhm.
lucky if we were getting some level of endorsement.
Mhm. Well, that just it signifies the love of the sport that everybody had. And it did. You provided opportunities for them to be seen by the Women's Basketball Association. So that was a really made it worthwhile, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, so I was doing that and I was personal training and then I saw an opportunity to step into a leadership role. And so it was, a couple years at the sporting club and then I received an opportunity to be fitness manager. So immediately I decided to give up my client base and step into a leadership role where I was actually managing my peers. So for
Mhm.
those of your listeners who have ever taken a leadership job in the club or the facility you work, it's difficult.
It is
Uh,
difficult. People
and
you
I was,
worked next to one day and you're their boss the next
yeah,
day.
yeah, one night you're partying with them at a club and the next night you can't or
Right.
you shouldn't.
Right.
Um, so that was interesting. I was in my early 20s and then, that fitness manager opportunity led to a general manager opportunity of the same club. So I took several different roles in that club. I had done some massage therapy at that club. I had worked, the front desk. I had been a fitness
Hmm.
trainer. I'd done it all. So being a GM was so gratifying, and I learned a lot in that role, but it was also the loneliest position I had ever had
Really?
because you're at least we were part of a chain at that point. We our club got acquired by a larger group, and so while that gave us a lot of potential teammates, they were new to we were all new coming together, so I didn't have peers to really talk to yet. You have a lot of stakeholders. You have your owners and you have your staff and you have the
Hmm.
members. And there's really these three buckets of people that are pulling and probing. And I felt a really lonely position without a lot of guidance at the time, but obviously thrived
Not
and
a
made it
lot of
through
other
and grew.
not not a lot of other female GMs in those roles either.
Absolutely. Well, I at that time actually there were a few other women in the company, and as the years went on, we got to know each other better. We ran very different style of clubs. The club I was at was the flagship. It was a really high end. It had a full spa. We had a day spa. We were connected to a hotel. But the
Hmm.
other clubs were more of a low cost, high value kind of
Hmm.
format, lower dues. So a lot of our challenges were very different. And, of course, the members have higher expectations and demands in a club like Premier Club. So again, I learned a lot. It was a challenging position for me in my 20s, but part of the hustle, I was really grateful to have had that experience.
Do you think that having done all those jobs in the club helped you to be a better GM of the club?
Yes, 100%. 100%. And also because I had already had a relationship with the members, that really helped me in the role. I had seen other GMs come in and fail because they didn't make an effort or they didn't already
Mhm.
have these deep relationships. And because I had worked on the floor, most of them I had taken them through their new member orientations when they joined the club. I was down there visiting with them all the time. I loved working the floor shifts. That was one of my favorite jobs because I couldn't believe people would pay me to actually talk to people and ask them about their fitness routine. So those relationships in the club, I think, helped me in that role more than anything else.
So important to think about as we progress in our careers that it's so much, and it doesn't matter your field or your role. It's about the people around you and being able to connect with those people in order to lead them and understanding what they do. And, as you said, three buckets, right? You've got the ownership, you have your staff, and you have the clients, and you have to make them all happy. So being more intimately involved with them, I would think gives you the perspective to do that.
Yeah, it did. It really did. And it led me to the next opportunity because all these clubs had come together, they were creating opportunities that were going to be regional and statewide positions. So the owners of this club chain were Club One, and anyone in the state of California might know these clubs.
Mhm.
We grew to about 27 clubs throughout the state of
Mm.
California. So I was elevated to a role where I was directing all of the personal training and Pilates across all of these clubs, first the Southern region and then the whole company. And so now I was back in my jam where I really thrived. And I was able to start working on scaling programs and branding programs and leading. I was another level removed from the client, though, which was also a big
Mhm.
challenge when you're leading through people who lead through people. It takes a different skill set. And so, again, learned a lot from that opportunity. And it took me all over the state, and I got to work in all those different facilities.
That's managing a lot of people, I would think.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's difficult, to keep an eye on 27 locations at one time, but I'm sure you were up to the task.
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And this was back when we were just trying to digitize our systems. Everything was still paper trails, like signature cards that people signed when they came in. It was kind of the Wild West when you think about all the tech that's available now. But I chuckle, like appointment books were paper books,
You know
calendar.
what? It's so funny you say that, Amy. I can remember in Boz when we would advertise for front desk staff that having good handwriting was a criterion.
Absolutely,
Because
yes.
we
And
had to read what you wrote in the appointment book. It's like, oh my gosh, we are old, aren't we?
yes, so funny. I remember taking my first Excel training course, so we could move off of those cards and move into Excel. Oh, that was
Oh.
hilarious. So, anyway, okay, I should move forward because I'm still in my 20s at this point. Next stage was my husband and I were ready to start a family, and I didn't envision motherhood, at least the first couple of years with me traveling all over. So
Mhm.
I came back to work with a dear friend of mine who had started a franchise called Fit for Mom. And at the time, the classes were called Stroller Strides. And
Mm.
so I started working for the company before I was pregnant, got pregnant right away, being around all the pregnant women. And then I taught classes in the morning at SeaWorld, at the zoo, at Mission Bay. And then I would go home, the nanny would come over, and I would help run the business. So I became the COO of that company. We were a franchise. We
Mhm.
were in 3 different countries at the time and over 300 franchise units.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was an incredible opportunity. And again, think the experience of scaling programs came in really handy. I
Hmm.
learned a lot about franchising. I got to go to the big IFA conventions, get involved with the different networking groups there. And it really gave me a great deal of exposure that I hadn't had before. So,
Hmm.
tremendous opportunity.
Yeah, you've picked up a lot of different great knowledges along the way, especially about franchising. That always comes in handy.
Yeah, absolutely. So from there, we decided to move closer to grandma. I had 2 kids now. And so we left the state of California, moved to Colorado. My husband and I said, all right, whoever gets the best job first is going to work, and the other parent's going to stay home. And I happened to get the best job first, which was working for a company called Wellbridge. And here we had 25 clubs, I think at the time, across 7 states. So I
Mm.
was back on the road, but
Mm.
dad was home with the babies, so this made
Right.
us happy. And so I was traveling about 85 nights a year for several years.
Mm.
It was another part of my career that was a grind, but also
Hmm.
so satisfying. And here I was leading all of the fitness programs in all of these clubs, the hiring, the training, the development, the new programs. We had boxes within boxes. We worked hand in hand with our spa. It was all the new member integration. So fascinating and wonderful opportunity.
Hmm. And you had the skill set for it for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And again, having already worked with a chain and with a franchise and with everything I'd learned and then also my leadership experience, I drew on all of those and but was also challenged and tested and learned new skills there as well.
Mhm.
Um, at this point, I got really curious, and I think a lot of people feel stale at times. I started to feel stale that within the organization I was in, I wasn't able to make the kind of impact I wanted. I
Mm.
wasn't being heard from leadership after several years. They wanted, the standard 10% growth every year. And we were entering a period of time where all of our markets had a lot of fierce competition. We had to invest into our spaces, and I just wasn't getting the response that I needed or felt I wanted. So I did some deep reflection and took some time to think about what's next for me. I decided that what I really wanted at that time was I wanted to get some international experience. I
Mm,
had traveled all over the US, had all kinds of connections. And by the way, I had been starting little networking groups in each city I went to, and I would
I love
host
that.
meetups in my clubs. So I was doing my own networking.
Meetups long before there were meetups.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every city I went to, it was kind of for recruiting, to be honest. I would reach out. I was using LinkedIn, and before that, I think it was called Plexo, or I
Hmm.
forget, but my yellow pages and my white pages combined. But I would reach out to all the fit pros. I would host a little networking event. And so I was building my exposure and my brand while I was working in this club chain and also helping them by recruiting more talent.
Really
Um,
smart.
the job I took was on the supplier side of the business. Again,
Mm.
something I hadn't done, but I had
Hmm.
worked hand in hand with for all these years. And I worked with Les Mills, who is anyone who knows Body Pump, Body Combat.
Sure.
They've been around for many, many years. They're founded in New Zealand. They are world renowned in every country. And so here I finally got two new experiences. I got to work internationally with teams, and I also got to see what it was like to work on biz dev in the supplier side of the house.
That's really interesting because aside, as you said, you had no exposure to, but I love the intention you've shown in your career to get to what I don't have, and fill that resume with every box tick.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was interesting at this time, Facebook and Insta were really big. And so every time, again, I would hold networking events, but I would take a lot of pictures and I would really show what was happening with all these different partners I was going to show them some love and use my platform to help myself, but also help them. It grows my brand, it grows their brand. And I created a tagline for myself, and because I realized that people, even in my own neighborhood, had no idea what I did, and they didn't understand what is it you do? What is it you
Right.
do? Do you teach? And I wasn't teaching anymore. Do you personal train? Would you be my trainer? I'm like, no, I'm not training anymore. I train the trainers who train the trainers. So I came up with my own hashtag called Fitness is My Business. And I started using that everywhere I went. So it was very clear that I'm in the business side of fitness. I'm
Mhm.
teaching, I'm presenting, I'm up leveling, I'm doing biz dev. But it was again a strategic decision so it could help articulate what I was doing in the industry and in the space.
That was a smart idea.
Yeah, and at the time, no one was really, hashtags were just getting started, so it just kind of helped to create breadcrumbs so people could see what I was doing and what I was up to. So I use that when I teach branding sessions. That's one of the tips I give
Hmm.
women specifically is use your same image across all of your platforms so
Hmm.
people can find you and recognize you. You can change it from time to time, but use
That's a
the
good
same
one.
image across all the platforms. No hats, no glasses, no kiddos. Make it a professional image. And then the
Mhm.
second tip is get a hashtag and use it consistently, or a motto or a tagline or something, some branding that differentiates you or tells people more clearly what it is you do.
Those are both great ideas, Amy. I mean, obviously, you've put a lot of thought into that, and you're right. People don't always understand, like consumers, your neighbors, like they kind of know. Oh, they know I work in spa, but what does that mean, really? Or they think you're a trainer because that's their experience of the business. They don't know what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So it was when I was very, very happy working with Les Mills that a recruiter came and found me, and she told me, would you be willing to move back to California? And I was like, hell yes. We were in Colorado. It was cold. We missed the
Mhm.
ocean. We were like, yes, I'll go back to California. And she couldn't name the brand yet, but she said, it's a large association that's in the fitness and wellness industry. So coincidentally, the group that owned Idea at the time was based in Boulder. So I interviewed in Colorado,
Ah,
and we were going to be leaving anyway. We really wanted to get out of Colorado. We were ready to go to a warmer climate. So we had our house on the market. We were looking at properties in Phoenix, thinking, it was a little
mhm,
more affordable with my rate at that time, and thinking we'd
mhm.
move there. And I got the call that I got the job. So then we changed all the plans. We made plans to come back to California and move the family. And it was a dream come true. I'm running the association that I had been a member of since 1997 when I first moved to San Diego, the story I just shared. I had presented with IDEA for all those years. I had written for IDEA's fitness journal for all those years. I had been a member, and I've been to almost every event with the exception of the 2 years my kiddos were born.
Does IDEA stand for something? Is it an acronym?
Yeah, it used to be. We dropped the acronym, but when the company was founded in 1982, dance was very popular in the clubs. So its
Mhm.
original acronym was International Dance and Exercise Association.
Mm.
And then years later, we just dropped, we became known as IDEA or IDEA Fit. So our URL is IDEA Fit. When I bought the company, which we'll get to in a minute, I incorporated as IDEA Fit. So IDEA
Mhm.
Health and Fitness Association, IDEA Fit is how we're known.
So you come on as the head of the association. That was the job you were hired into. You've never worked in an association before. Now you're the boss. Um, how many people were members of the association at that point?
So our reach is about 275,000 that have active profiles in Fitness Connect. Our membership at the time was we were told about 25,000. Some of that was fluff for the sale. We've later learned,
Mhm.
but it was a very large association. And these are not just personal trainers and fitness instructors. We have health coaches, we have nutritionists, we have athletic trainers, we have PE coaches, we have strength and conditioning coaches. So we really are all allied health professionals who join our association.
So this is a great thing for people who are out there in the world working on their own. It's something to be a part of, a bigger body to help sort of give you structure.
That's right, and business resources. Our flagship event is called Idea World. It's a 4-day event. It brings about 10,000 Fit Pros together from 80 countries. We're providing
Impressive.
CCs for the fitness professionals at these events. So in our space, when you get certified, you need continuing education credits. I
Mhm.
think massage therapists do as well.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's what we provide. And we also provide an online platform with about 900 video courses. Our journal produces articles, and so we've got about 15,000 articles in our website as well. We also provide insurance. So we have liability
Mm,
insurance, we
yeah,
have health insurance, which I introduced the minute I started running the association for independent operators or owners, really designed for the fitness professional that needs health insurance. If you start your own business, it's one of the hardest things to get.
for sure. And just having someone sort of pave the way for you there. I think in fitness there are so many independent practitioners who freelance at this gym or that gym, and they don't have health insurance or perhaps liability insurance, and they don't have the business know-how to know how to structure. So you're really providing a lot of valuable services.
Yeah, the framework for their business, career development, a community of people
Mhm.
that they can talk to and learn from. So that's what it has always been to me. And as the pandemic affected our industry and everyone's industry, for fitness, it's estimated we lost 44% of our businesses in the US.
Right.
In other countries, such as Australia, they were closed down just like the state of California and many
Mhm.
others. In some of our states, COVID never happened, so those
Mhm.
businesses are fine. But overall, we estimate 44% of our businesses shut down and did not come back. So we are in a state of rebuilding. We know that for my business, associations were hurt because people left the industry, but our events were shut down. So we were doing virtual events. Of course, that has a financial impact. And then media companies, paper skyrocketed.
Mm.
All the costs, postage went up. We were still mailing magazines, and we've just now gone to completely digital. But all these things factored in, and it created an opportunity for me at the helm of this organization to be on the inside of the what's next for idea conversation.
Mhm.
And so when that conversation took place in late 2021 and early 2022, I I knew in my heart that if I didn't, I had to go with the company if someone was going to buy it, or I had to buy the company, or it wouldn't exist today.
Mhm.
And so I jumped out of my chair one day in a virtual meeting with my boss at the equity group that owned us. And I asked for them to sell the company to me. I didn't know how, I didn't know what I was going to do or how I was going to do it, but I said, please let me take this company and let me run it. Let me do it the way we need to do it and give it the love it needs. And so 8 weeks later, I owned the business.
Come on, you make that sound easy, but that can't have been an easy 8 weeks.
No. And by the way, I had to set up 3 corporations. I have a parent company, I have IDEA, and then the insurance company has to be by itself. So in 8 weeks, I set up 3 corporations, benefits for my team, payroll services, everything that comes with starting a new business. And I had to do it so quickly in order to meet the timeline that worked with their timeline, but also we had our big event coming. And so we decided to make this change before the big event. So there was a time crunch. But
And you had to get money, I'm assuming.
yeah, there was a lot of tears, a lot of wine, and a lot of leaning on great relationships that I had fostered in all those years that I knew could help me in that time.
Mm-hmm. So what made you want to do that? You felt like you could do more as the owner than just remaining as the GM.
Yeah, so we were not going to get the investment we needed. Again, we're a 40-year-old company. We needed new tech desperately. We were on a dated platform. It was Drupal. We just didn't have the resource that we need. And in the time since I was running the company, we were actually sold to a different private equity group. So we went from one media company that had about 29 brands to another media company that had now 41 brands. And these are all consumer facing legacy magazines like Yoga Journal, Clean Eating, Better Nutrition, Oxygen.
They're all great, but they had nothing to do with what you're doing.
100%. And so all of the resource was going to these other companies, and we were slowly eroding. And every time an employee would quit, we wouldn't replace them. And I was asked to do less with more. And financially, I understood. I had visibility to the books and all the impact of the business. So what made me want to buy it was, one, I knew, again, if we didn't do something soon, it wasn't going to exist. It was going to be scrapped for parts. And if it wasn't me, then who? And so it was timing. And it was like, I felt like all of those experiences that I outlined had kind of culminated to bring me to that chair at that time. And that's what was so neat for me, is to connect the dots through my career and know that I had all the experiences, I had all the knowledge. I just needed control of the company so I could do what we needed to do and make it happen.
Amy, you're 18 months into that journey. How has it been? What can you tell us about the direction you're going with the company?
Yeah, so we just last week, we launched our new platform. So the team has been working exhaustively to get us into our new tech. So we're there. And what's so exciting about this is we can now innovate. So now we can bring new products and services to Fit Pros. We can modernize the business, education, more video content, really in service of today's Fit Pro, but also thinking ahead to what does tomorrow's health and fitness pro need, and how are we going to adjust the business and cater the business to that professional. So I like to use the analogy of, I've always got my ear to the ground. I'm constantly listening to our members, understanding what's happening in the facilities and in the clubs and in their independent businesses. But it's also our job to be visionaries. Like, IDEA has always led the pathway. Our literature and our events are really paving all the new trends, all the new services, everything, all the education that they need. We have to be leading them into the future, not just being reactive. And so after all these years of business being more reactive, we're back to leading and being visionaries.
Well, it's the right time for that, right? I mean, wellness and fitness are really interconnected now. And I think thanks to the pandemic, consumers understand that they're in charge of their health and they have the means to go out and take a walk. It doesn't require a gym membership. So we received the Global Wellness Institute updated economy numbers last week at the Global Wellness Summit. They're estimating globally, the physical activity bubble, as they call it, at just under $1 trillion. I think it was 976 billion. And there are six subsectors to that. One of them being fitness in gyms, which is still not at pre-pandemic levels, but others like mindful movement and consumers buying fitness tech and fitness wear and joining this and that class and club and athletics are all growing like crazy. So I mean, there's no cap on where it can go. What's your perspective on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. So I'll tell you about an exciting initiative that we're working on globally, but through that lens and really looking at the industry, you talked about holistic and physical activity. And so there's debate right now as to all this terminology and to figuring out how we all can work together. We've toyed with the words even in this interview about wellness versus fitness versus health versus strength and conditioning. And yes, those have clearly defined roles, but all of us are interested in physical activity and movement and mindfulness. And so the more that we can first just agree on terminology that we're all focused on, and really ultimately this holistic approach to health, which means that the individual takes ownership of their health more than ever before, but also as professionals that we're thinking and addressing the entire human and not just a specific piece of their existence.
That's a really great approach. And I love how you put the entire human, the holistic organism that is a human, which needs physical movement as well as rest and recovery and mindfulness and all the pieces that are part of that physical activity bubble.
Yeah. So if you ask, are we in wellness? Yes. Are we in health and fitness? Yes. And all of us have the same interests. So some really exciting news that happened just last year. We now have a global initiative. Associations all over the world have finally come together. And again, as a result of the pandemic, we finally said, let's stop throwing elbows and thinking that we can do this alone. Let's come together and create an association for all associations globally so we can have a seat at the table with the World Health Organization and we can create real change. Until then, World Health Organization didn't know who to look to, who to point to. Is it this a group? Is it this group? Well, no, they're only US focused. Well, no, they're only club focused. So the initiative is called World Active, and we started our manifesto and charter in 2022. We elected officers, and I was elected to lead North America. So I'm leading North America, and I'm the vice president of World Active. And so together, we are bringing together all the associations so that we can unite on specific initiatives that will really lead physical activity in the world.
That is really smart because you're right, Amy, there's power in numbers, right? And when organizations, we've struggled with this on the spa side, like trying to get on the radar of these big organizations. And it's hard to do that when you're a country or even within spa and wellness. Are you a hotel spa or a day spa or a resort spa or a cruise ship spa? And they all have different needs. And, it's not representing the industry as a whole. I think this is a really great idea.
Yes, and there's room for global wellness. There's room for every association that has activity as a pillar. So again, we're early in our humble beginnings, and we're all working on this initiative with full-time jobs. But we're in the process of raising money so that we can have full-time staff. We are again, we have meetings with World Health Organization to make clear initiatives for 2024. But it's really an exciting time that we're seeing unity finally, and we're seeing change. And I'm just proud that women are finally part of the conversation. And that's been a long time coming in our space.
So, what can we do as spa, wellness, and holistic professionals globally to help this movement? Should people in those other professions join this World Active?
Absolutely. So right now there's the way to get involved. It's not, you don't even pay membership dues at this point. We're not even that far along. We have formed working groups. And so we're working on, there's 4 different groups that focus on moving our initiatives forward. whether it's around credentialing and really
Mhm.
up-leveling our trait and our role, or if it's this whole working with government and policymakers. We have a working group for that. A working group, obviously, just for building the infrastructure. We're about to set up our global headquarters. And so a lot of things are underway. So my advice would be go to the website, worldactive.com. It's world-active.
All
And
right.
you can sign on there, or you can belong, you'll hear about it by belonging to associations like IDEA. And we communicate with our members often about how do you get involved, what's coming, why is this important to you. So I would suggest getting involved those ways. And then as we grow, there will be more and more opportunities to become part of the solution.
Open for individuals and companies as well?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So right now it's designed for, right now the associations are representing, there's not, for an independent person, there's not a clear pathway, but I do still suggest, reach out, get involved so you can at least start getting communication. And then you could also just search, remember we were talking about hashtags, just hashtag World
Mhm.
Active, and you can start seeing what we've already done, how we're showing up in social media and press release in the news.
That's really a great initiative, for you. How many people are in the leadership group of World Active?
So our council is five members, but our membership so far are 52 organizations are represented across nearly every continent. I believe we have nearly every continent at this point. And so again, I will tell you the biggest challenge is when to hold the meetings because
I'll bet.
when you're working on the global teams, like we have to alternate by who wakes up at 3 a.m. for a
It's
call.
Australia's the killer. They're always the
Exactly.
outlier, aren't they?
Yes.
We can get it from the Middle East to California, and then Australia's like, oh, never the
Yeah,
right time.
and my time zone is Pacific time zone. So I find like if I was Eastern, it would even be easier. But Pacific to Australia, you're right. Those are
Yeah. So
crazy.
the long bridge to cross, but if anyone can do it, you can. So, what do you think the future is? I mean, how will fitness and health continue to evolve with wellness together? What do you see happening, or do you have a goal for World Active in that?
So on the World Active front, yeah, our goal is really to create a bridge to unity and to make a bigger voice. So it's all about we can create ripples individually, but together we can create tidal waves. And so we're trying to bring together, think about it, each of the associations has their own media outlet. They have their own relationships with their government. They have their own publications. We can spread our initiatives and move them so much more quickly together than we can alone. And so initiatives like making our industry essential, like really raising the standards of professionalism rather than, letting anyone in the industry with whatever credentials they bring. We welcome everyone to the space. And we know that a lot of people are coming into fitness and wellness as a second career. Fantastic. But there's also a pathway whereby you can advance your career and you can gain the skills that you need to work with people safely and effectively.
Well, the beauty is that it's become so much more broad than when you and I were younger women. I mean, when became a spa consultant and I told people what I did, they would say, "Oh, you sell hot tubs?" You know, and
Yes.
and now they say, "Oh, that's cool. I go to a spa," right? So, I mean, same with fitness. It's not just the gym now. There's so many other levels of it. And most people, I mean, humans on earth participate in some way in physical movement or mindful movement or, using a Fitbit or buying a gym shirt or a pair of sneakers. And so we do have a really unprecedented ability to touch so many humans if we can coalesce around some vision.
Yes, that's right. And so, from ideas standpoint, we're going to continue to innovate. We're going to keep bringing. We don't certify. So this is an important distinction about the organization that IDEA is. We founded American Council on Exercise. We founded Club Connect, a directory for clubs, but those have now become offshoots of the business. Who we are today is we don't certify fitness professionals.
Mhm.
We lead them to quality certifications, and we help throughout their career with all the business resource, the continuing education, the community that we talked about. So we're really an umbrella, and we're agnostic in this space. And what's great about that is that through our events, we work with all the brands, all the suppliers, we bring in the shampoo companies, everyone who wants to get their product inside a club. If you want to put your product on a fitness professional, in their mouth, in their clients' mouths, or in their business, our place is the space in order to reach those. And we've been the platform for many big known brands that came through IDEA as a way to be improved in the market. So TRX, Zumba, they came through IDEA to get international recognition and visibility. So it's a really, I just wanted to clarify that, because the common misnomer is that we certify, and we don't, but we work with all the certifying agencies. We work with all universities and colleges. We work with everybody to elevate the industry.
Well, it seems like that's a smart place to be, not being the certifying body, but enabling those connections between those who do that. You can be agnostic that way.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know how you have time, but I will ask you like what you see, any trends coming in fitness or movement that you think will be big in 2024.
Yeah. Well, there's new certifications that kind of were spotlighted and came about because of the pandemic. So now there's a mental health first aid or first responder certificate. And I think this is really exciting that now it's not taboo to talk about mental health, and we're giving professionals skills, not to treat, but to identify and to know where to point that individual. Because again, back to the job I had as a personal trainer, sometimes people are seeing their trainer 7 days a week, 6 days a week, 5 days a week. Who is going to be a better advocate for your health? Who's going to have a deeper relationship for you than your fitness professional? So if the more skills we have and the bigger our allied professionals are that we can refer to, the better we can help people with their holistic health. So the mental health first responder recovery is still very, very big. Not just modalities, but massage therapy. I just went to Korea to our event. We have an event in Korea, and I got 2 spa treatments. Korea is known for their beauty market, and their therapies are phenomenal. So you'll see more and more recovery. And again, these are where we all are working together and focused on the whole human.
Do you think that gyms, like large gym chains, will invest in recovery lounges or areas of their facilities?
So they already have, lots of clubs are building a box within a box, like a franchise inside of a facility. When I was working with Les Mills and I got to step in all these clubs, I can tell you, like in the Midwest, they were having these cryotherapy franchises in the front of the facility. They've got the massage chair lounges that are an add-on to your membership. So those are like a gateway to spa treatments. I feel like the technology certainly would never replace the human therapist. I'm adamant about that, but it's a gateway. It helps people think about their health and exactly. And so we do see a lot. And then there's also a lot of brands are building recovery services into their fitness professional packages. So if you wanted to add, you can go in the recovery zone, work with a recovery specialist. They'll help you with all the different tools, but also with the stretching and there's entire franchises that are just stretch lab.
Oh, I know. I've seen a few of them, and it's like, what's going on in there? A lot of tables with trainers. It's just one big room with a bunch of tables stretching people. I visited one in Scottsdale, and lots of people golfing there, and they go there to get stretched after. I thought, wow, who would have thought this possible even 10 years ago, that this was a whole business? So recovery, including cryo, cold plunge, infrared, probably compression therapy.
Exactly.
Anything else?
We had one in Colorado my kids would go to for sports. They had hot and cold tubs. They had all the was a physical therapist or athletic trainer on site. I think they had a physical therapist on site that you could book with or that would consult with you. And again, access to all those toys you otherwise may not have access to.
That's got to be a boost to membership in some way. Like maybe there's another tier where you pay more to have access to
Yes.
that. I know that they do that at Planet Fitness. They have that, whatever, the black room. I'm not clear what's in there. Um, and I was never compelled to join it, but this is really a cut above what we're talking about.
Yes. Yeah. Experience in the Midwest. I know Lifetime has always
Mhm.
had significant add-on services. So yeah, a lot of big boxes are doing it, but the boutique experience is always going to be more catered, more specialized, probably. So you'll see exciting innovations coming in those boutiques as well.
Amy, are your kids athletic as well? They must be.
Yes. Yeah. My husband's a college football player, and I shared my experience. So the kids are now competing in elite sports, and we love it. If I'm not working on the business, I'm traveling with them or just watching them play. So love it.
Are there any sports that you still have the time to play yourself?
No, you know what? These days I do Les Mills body pump in my garage
Mhm.
on demand, and I love to run. We have a canyon close to our house, so I love to run the canyon. That's been my choice of workout for the last year or so.
Well, that's like we said earlier, something you can just do running or walking outside anytime. There's no fee for that. So it's great to see that you're delving into all aspects of that. And thank you again for your leadership in this movement, to really help the professionals be connected to possibilities beyond. And it can only leak through to consumers in the end.
That's right. Yeah, I think it's really an exciting time for our space and really bringing us again unity is the theme. We need to create tidal waves. We need to really support everybody in their health journey, and we can do that better if we're all working together.
Well, thank you again for joining us. Such a busy person. And I should say congratulations again on your recent winning of a Stevie Award for Women in Industry, which is across all industries in the country. It's not just fitness, it's a very big deal.
It was a big nod to our industry to even be recognized in that category with all these other industries. And my kids were like, I got a bronze woman of the year, which is exciting. And my kids were like, don't worry, you only lost to Pepsi and IBM. So they were like very impressed that
Yeah,
mom's
I'm
industry
pretty
was
impressed too. I
represented.
mean, that's pretty good company. Thank you for elevating the rest of us along with you, Amy. So great to chat today,
It's so great visiting with you. Bye, and thank you for the opportunity.
for sure.